This podcast contains explicit language. Hey, this is Mike from 424recording.com, and I just want to say if you're a fan of the podcast or channel, please consider supporting us at patreon.com/424recording. For as little as $1 a month, you'll get exclusive rewards and help keep this podcast mattress ad-free. Support us at patreon.com/424recording. Hello and welcome to 424 Recording, a podcast featuring interviews with musicians, artists, YouTubers, and other creatives about the creative process. We're also talking all things music, especially in the punk, grunge, bedroom, and indie rock genres. This is Mike from 424recording.com, and on this week's episode, I had a chat with YouTuber and musician Noir at Blanc Vie. You may know Steven's synth modular minute, 20-minute, 1-minute synth reviews, or Eurorack for Beginners series. I'm a big fan of Steven's channel, and I learned a lot from my conversation with him about the history of his channel, where his channel is heading, and what inspires him creatively. This is the first part of a two-part series chatting with Steven. Here's my conversation with Noir at Blanc Vie.
Have you ever gone back and watched a video that old from me? The first one.
I think I've been watching your channel almost since the beginning. Honestly, because the first video, one of the first videos I watched was the Dave Smith Instruments drum machine. I can't think of the name.
Oh, the Tempest. Yeah,
the Tempest. Yeah, that was one of your earlier ones, no?
Yeah. That was. It's funny because when I did that back then, I thought how much better I was at doing videos, and this was back then. And then it was like, oh, actually. Now that I watch it, I'm like, wow, I had no personality. I don't know what I was trying to, because I'm like, I think I must have written the notes on a piece of paper.
Right.
And then the camera was far away from me, but I don't remember, it's kind of hard to remember.
Yeah.
But because it's bad now.
I think that video is awesome.
I guess.
You don't think so?
I guess.
There's so much creativity just spilling out of that. I don't know.
I thought I was clever with the meaning of the word tempest. I was like, oh, that's real clever, because it kind of goes hand in hand with what actually happened with the instrument, where it was totally not. I'm not saying it wasn't finished, but it wasn't. I don't think it was ready for the public at that point.
Yeah, that's kind of a big reason, because I was looking into getting the Tempest or the Digitact, and. Mm-hmm. For me, that video really helped me decide, because that's what I kept hearing about that instrument, was that it was sort of in a state of not quite completion, and a lot of people had a lot of complaints about it online. And as somebody who's, I'm not as versed with synthesizers and drum machines, I was a little taken aback. And also with the videos they put out for it, just seemed very, I don't know if you saw the ones where there's it's Dave Smith and Roger Lynn, and it looks like they did it on a camcorder 20 years ago.
It's very funny in comparison to the videos they do now, which are very much aesthetically they have a thing that they want to do. They're not Moog level of cinematography or whatnot,
sure.
But they definitely try a lot harder. And it's not like Roger Lynn doing one of the most god awful drum beats. All these
I know.
It's all right, Roger, come on, dude,
I know.
Real contemporary of you.
Right. It's how could you have this instrument that you spent all this time on, and then have release videos that are like that to try to promote them? I was because the Digitac stuff they have. What's Sank, I think his name is, or Jank.
Oh yeah.
He's amazing. He's so good at manipulating this. He makes it seem so simple. He's okay, we're gonna make this beat, and then he'll just do it in 5 seconds. It's amazing.
Yeah, the videos for the I think the thing is Electron especially, they have people who are really good at knowing the instruments in and out. They've had the same people there forever, since before they were, I think the Digitact was the first the first mainstream Electron thing, where people who weren't into shit at all were oh yeah, that's my thing.
Right.
And then they just kept running with it, with the Digitone, and then the whatever the hell else they have, the Heat.
The Heat 2 now is in the same. It seems like they love the size of that box, and now they're going to just keep putting everything they can into those. And it's a great size. I have mine right over here, and I just, it's so, I don't know, the shape of it and everything about it just always makes me want to play it.
Yeah, they the reason I think that they learned a lot from a few different companies. Like, you could tell they learned a lot from Arturia and how they market the hell out of stuff, because like that Electron is in the hands of like at least 10 online, personalities per se.
Wow.
Before, it hits the street, like it's out there.
Yeah.
And they definitely know the community, like how to touch the market with through like creators or whatever.
Yeah, because I know Bo had gotten the Electron mystery box. That was I talked with Bo a couple of weeks ago, and he was it was like the week right after that, and that's the thing. Like, he got that. He seems to get a lot of stuff before it drops, and then that's like you're saying, like they have a real good finger on the pulse of the community and who to put these out to that's going to get it out in front of the people that are going to, because after seeing his video on that, I was like, oh man, I want to check that out too.
Yeah, he really gets a lot of stuff first before a lot of, which sometimes I think some people think is a problem, but I think that he is a really good person to show off. His personality is good for new things, sure. Right? He is, I mean, to me, he's more of like a really good tech channel where he's not just reading off the spec sheet. He's also enjoying his time with it and happy that he has it, And I think that regardless of what people think sometimes, like, oh, well, he's getting things pre-release and all the people are getting paid to do these. It's like, but, not that that's the case. I'm just saying, like, if it were at all the case, it's like, well, who else do you want to have it? Do you want me to have it? No, you don't want me to have something before it comes out.
Why not?
Well, because
you're more unbiased.
I'm just more like, I would probably, I'm not excited for stuff, and that's probably the biggest thing against me. Like, I like the Sub 37. I like the things I have. Right. Like, new gear literally does not like make me, I don't get excited. And Bo's like, his personality of being excited and like making an experience is it's what like would get me as a new person to be interested.
I never thought of it like that. Yeah, that's super interesting.
I just don't like gear. Like, I literally don't like most gear. And then the stuff that I do like, I probably shouldn't get. Like, the Prophet X is probably the only thing that I'm really excited about.
So you do get excited.
It's like yeah, but it means, $5,000, and it's like it's like that, and like the Modal 002. Those are the only synths that I like think about, like, man, if I could.
Yeah.
But they're both like $4,000 or something, so theirs are not happening.
I thought that was super interesting what you said in that, like the video that came out, the think piece about how they get your credit card number and then they send it to you and, hey, sit with this for a second. Like, I had no idea how any of that stuff worked, to be honest, But maybe you could do something like that with those two. Or
maybe I hated giving up my credit card number. It seemed, because what it does is it puts this different vibe into you that I don't think maybe comes across, but it's like you have to return them in the state that they sent it to you.
Sure.
Which, like, say that was the Korga monologue or the mini brute, whichever one, the micro brute. I remember I went to Guitar Center and I bought the micro brute because I had made jokes for like the whole year about the micro brute. And so I was kind of like, oh yeah, it'd be cool to make a joke about it and to do a video finally. But then like I like dropped it and then I like spilled wax all over it. And then it becomes this weird thing of like, what if I had gotten this via, it just like, that's why I think I wanted to kind of have those kind of misconceptions like gone. Like, it's like, oh yeah, do companies send you things like for free? Like, oh yeah, but I would never be like telling a company like I'm going to review this. Like I just don't do that because it's not for me. It's not about like a conflict of interest. It's just a video takes way longer and is worth way more than the piece of gear. Like there's just I don't know where the line is. Like is a Mini Brute 2 worth a video? Like is like a $300 or $400, I forgot how much the Mini Brute 2 is, but like $400 thing worth like me sitting there and doing like a 15-hour video? I don't know. Like sitting there for like hours editing and then like recording. I don't know.
Well, I think and that's something I wanted to ask you about because it seems like you have such a clear vision of what you want to do with your channel and your videos, like, and it seems like it's fully formed. So how did you, like, where does that come from? Like, how did you do that?
Let's see. When I didn't know what it was when I started the channel, but I think I had to do like two sort of revisions of the channel to figure out how to go about it. One, more efficiently, which is like the new set was a way of doing it more efficiently because I couldn't do videos fast enough because I was setting up and tearing stuff down a lot. And then figuring out through people I knew how to make videos more long lasting, right? Because what happened is I realized when I did something that I had to like change it a few different times just from listening to people. Well, so the first time was I needed to put out new content on a more regular basis. And that was when I did an update video in like the summer of 2017 or something. And at that point, I had only been doing videos whenever I wanted. And I kept hearing things about consistency. So I said, oh, okay, what I'm going to do is do a review, but then also do like smaller, easier videos, which are like me doing tutorials about like how to make cool sounds. Like, so I did like these synth quickie things. That's what I labeled them, synth quickies. And then
the 1 minute synthesizer reviews, is that?
Yeah, the 20-minute synthesizer review. Yeah, I kind of just took what I wanted. I like how
you have the clock in those like in the background as if it's going to be 1 minute.
Yeah, the modular minutes were fun. Those are easier because I could like shoot like a 6 in a day. But
sure,
you know, I did all those. I did so many videos. Like I was doing like, maybe this is bad, but I was doing like 2, sometimes 3 a week. Not every week, but I at least did like 1 a week. And then I literally got to this place where it was like my channel had grown like not very much. And I talked to Jeremy from Red Means Recording. Like we had our private conversation. I was like, dude, like I'm quitting. This is not like fun at all. And so he was like, don't worry about it, blah, blah. Cause you know, I look at his channel. He was right over 100,000 at that point.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, it was,
he just rolled over what, 200 now?
He just rolled over 2. Yeah. So, and yeah, Jeremy's funny because like, I didn't know who he was for like 8 months or something. He would like comment on every single one of my videos.
Oh, wow.
And I was just like, yeah. And I was just like, I don't know. Like, I just didn't pay attention to comments back then. So anyway, we've had so many like conversations. We have like an ongoing thing. And so anyway.
That's awesome.
The point is that I had to change it sort of a little bit during the end of the summer to be like, okay, I got to get back to where I was. Then
where you were enjoying the process.
Where I was enjoying the process. So that meant like coming off that summer, I wanted to focus on making the Halloween video fun because that to me is the most fun for me.
Yeah, that's the best time of the year.
Yeah, I love all the Halloween themed videos on YouTube that come out. So, and also my kind of reason for starting the channel, which was the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Oh, wait, no way. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Because I was going to bring that up, and I was like, I wonder if, I was going to bring up Angry Video Game Nerd, because I've been watching those this whole weekend, and I go through like periods where I like binge watch like every single, I go to the playlist, like oldest to newest, and I'll just go through them. And that's like that might be one of the impetus for me starting my channel as well. Like I just love the stuff James does, and or did, and still continues to do.
Yeah.
And I remember because there's a lot of parallels between things I've heard him say and things I've heard you say now, and it's like because his whole thing was, he had hit like if you watch the videos like the making of like an AVGN episode, it's like it's intense, and then like the Rob video and some of the videos that took him, hundreds and 150 hours to make just like a one video that's like 20, 30, 40 minutes. And, I remember his big thing, and a big reason why he said he never did it too consistently was because the internet rewards quantity over quality. So
he's right.
Yeah. So like that's so funny because I wasn't sure if you I feel like it's one of those things like either you were probably into games or you weren't. So I wasn't sure if like that would be something you had heard of or.
No, that's literally the reason why I started the channel.
Awesome.
Was I didn't, and this is kind of going back way to like 2015 when I didn't know that YouTube was a viable option for putting out pieces of work and then getting some sort of like notoriety and feedback, I guess. Like,
sure.
I had just thought it was like cat videos and funny viral things, right?
Sure.
And literally, I don't even know how I came across his channel, because I don't even know why. I was like, I think I was playing something on like the Wii U at that point, and I looked up something, and then I got to his channel.
Yeah.
And I watched a video, and I couldn't stop watching those videos. Like,
yeah.
It consumed my life, and I was also consumed by like the fact that there was like at that point there was like 100 plus.
Right.
At that point, he had been doing these videos for years.
I think I never heard of 10-year anniversary, right?
Yeah. Cinemassacre was like 10 years in, I think the year 2000. I think it was like 2017. He hit like 10 years. I remember that episode or something like 2007, okay, maybe. So. He was really the first big YouTube channels, and so watching his videos made me think, a show can be really entertaining more than say things. I like the Angry Video Game Nerd, not because of the games, not at all because of the games, but because of the personality and the script writing that he brings to whatever it is. Like, it's like you like bad games. Like, I like bad games, but it was like the way that he had to find the bad things, sort of, because he can't just make a video if it's like, oh, the control's not great. It has to be like, no, the controls this is the worst. Anyway, yeah. So his channel and making things of quality definitely makes sense to me in terms of like where my channel is, because I know other channels who go much larger, grow much faster, but in the end, I don't know. I feel like this. I want to be able to show off my channel to someone and have them, be impressed by the amount of work that I did, even if it's not a ton.
Yeah.
Like that's how I feel.
I feel like that. I mean, that's something. I think one of the questions I sent you was something like, "How does it feel to have probably the best produced YouTube channel on YouTube?" Because that's, I mean, based on like other videos and channels that I've seen, like, I don't know, like the quality of your videos is, I feel like it's like a next level state of affairs, but you don't seem to think that.
Well, I think that's because I look at other people who are really, really good. There's like different types of channels, right? Like, I do you know Dallas Jamming?
Yes.
Jade Wee. Yeah. So, I talked to Jade at, NAMM.
Yeah. There was like maybe a pic on Instagram with you and Cuckoo and Jade, right?
Yeah. We went to dinner and whatnot, and it was very cool because you don't get to see people from this world very often. The closest person who probably lives the closest to me that I talk to is probably Jeremy from Red Means Recording, and he lives one state up.
Seattle, right, or Portland?
He's in Portland, yeah, basically in Oregon. So that's like the closest person to me. And so you don't get to see people very often. And like sometimes when I'm at the local store, maybe someone recognized me, but like it's not the same as seeing someone who
That's crazy.
you've admired, right? Like when I saw Jade, it was like, oh, that's cool. And when I saw Cuckoo, it was like, oh, that's cool. Like, and we talk about quality. And, I think someone like Cuckoo has it's a different type of quality, but it's like, what it is. He knows his aesthetic. And then it's like Jade, she's still figuring it out. She's slowly figuring out how she's going to go about this and how much time she can spend doing this. And, I know more about her than most people on YouTube and most people who are most people in general who are like watching the videos or whatever. And so I know, her time can be limited more than my time, me, the non-married, non-child person.
Sure.
Who's younger. I guess it's just like I can spend like 3 hours shooting something. I try not to, but I can do it. So, but then again, Andrew Huang's videos, I always want to be as entertaining as his videos. Like that's an aspiration of mine. I watch his videos and it's like, I don't even know what it is because I think that I'm doing my cuts pretty good. But watching his video always makes me be like, no, he's got this editing thing down. Like, and I don't even know what it is. He doesn't do jump cuts. He might do one jump cut if you mess up a line, and you can tell. But that's so rare. He's always cutting with footage. He's always making it interesting. Anyway, yeah, and Red Means Recording channel, man. Like, I don't have the graphics ability that Jeremy has, which is annoying.
Sure.
He's just super talented with motion graphics, and so
that's like his career, right? Like, does he do something? Yeah.
But that's a huge. That's like a huge thing, right? Like, sure. I dabble in the motion graphics. I
was messing around with Animate CC this past week. I tried the free trial. I made a couple of quick ones, but yeah, it's tough to do. It's a lot of time.
Yeah. His channel is so good with. Because, his videos for the OP1, where he does, like, I think the Am I Repeating Myself video, where he does, like, a bunch of words and whatnot, kind of, like, on top of the OP1, and he's, like, that's just so clever. It's not, people think that's easy, I think. People think, oh, that's not very great. But then I'm looking at that, like, oh, man, like, how clever.
Yeah.
His channel does, there's so many different types, I guess.
But so the thing is, like, Andrew Huang, like, he's been doing it for probably like 8 years, right?
Yeah. He's got a whole subreddit dedicated to his channel for the most part.
Right. I think that there's something to be said about, because you're in like year 2 now, or?
First video was around December of 2015. And then I didn't do the first 1 minute synthesizer review until after NAMM, I think. So that was probably like February of 2016. It was like the first first worst horrible video that I did.
Well, you got to figure then you're only in it, 2.5 years, right? I feel like that the part of it is just having done it over and over again for 8 years, like you were saying, like, oh, did you ever look at my earlier videos compared to my new ones? It's like, it's the same thing. Like, I feel like a year from now, you could be saying, do you look at my videos from last year compared to this year?
I'll probably say that again.
Yeah.
I had like crazy, like, stage fright. I meant to like actually post, like, do kind of a
outtakes
a retrospective of like my life and like how, like, I think people thought, like, at first people thought I was blind. Probably brought in some subscribers.
I never heard that or realized that.
Yeah, people ask like that not a lot.
I thought
but
that was
often.
just part of like your character. You have the glasses.
It was a version of James Rolfe's Angry Video Game Nerd. It was
totally.
He's he's a character. He's not a character throughout all of Cinemassacre, but he's a character in the Angry Video Game Nerd.
Right.
Just
Board
like James. He's a character.
Like
exactly,
he's got,
just like
yeah.
he's Board James.
And I think that's
so
super interesting too, because he's able to make that distinction between like, no, this isn't James Rolfe. This is Angry Video Game Nerd. This is
yeah,
Board James. You know, and these are these are characters. This isn't who I am, because, you know,
yeah, without almost being a caricature. You know, it's
Sure.
like weird to say that he can play characters, but it's so seamlessly when you watch James doing like a movie review, I don't even associate that. Not that I'm trying to disassociate it, but it's
Sure.
just, oh, it's James when we're talking about movies right now.
Yeah.
It's when the Angry Video Game Nerd is on, because he doesn't really sit in that set
Yep.
if he's not doing it.
And he's got his, you know, his garb for the character.
The glasses and the shirt and the pens.
And it feels like it's like James at, I mean, I don't know him at all. I feel like I'm talking about like I know him, but it feels like it's him at like 11, you know, like he's his personality, but like way to this other side of the spectrum where, you know, because sometimes he swears and you can see that coming out of his personality, but
Yeah.
he's definitely not that character.
No, he's really like well thought out about a lot of the things that he does and says, obviously.
Yeah, like all those lines are you know, he writes the script. Like I was watching that behind the scenes one, you know, and some of the outtakes too, like he'll be trying to rifle off those crazy like metaphors and similes or whatever, or where he's just going off on like swearing and doing things, and you could see like he's like trying to remember them as he's doing them, you know. So it's not just like this improv thing. It's, you know, that's what I thought was super interesting. Like his setup, he's like playing the game, writing the script, recording the video and the voiceover, and then editing. And, you know, just seeing like, oh man, like his library of like mini DV tapes, and like he just goes back. He's got all his games that he's ever played on discs. It's insane. Like the level of genius with that channel, or just, I don't know, like organization, like blows my mind.
Yeah, he's kind of the architect of the 1 Minute Synth Review series. You know, it was, you don't know when you're gonna get a 1 Minute Synth Review the same way as you don't know when you're gonna get another Angry Video Game Nerd, right?
Right.
At least more nowadays. Back in the day, and even like a couple years ago, he would drop one like every other week. I think he wanted to see just as a test, right?
Yeah.
But even, you know, I think maybe if you've watched it, like there was like last year at some point, it was like, I was like, whoa, we were getting like a Video Game Nerd. Sometimes you got like one a week.
And then there was like 12 Days of Christmas too, where he did, or maybe it was, I forget, but it was like, you know, that was really cool too. He had like the Christmas tree, and he would unwrap each one each day. And that was like, that must have taken him so long to, I mean, there were shorter episodes, but yeah, it's definitely, I've been trying to figure out how to incorporate more of that vibe or more of that process into my channel too, because it's that's definitely a huge inspiration of why I started doing it too, because I was like, this is so cool that this guy can just be himself and do what he wants to do and make this amazing channel and community out of you know, talking about crappy video games.
Yeah, he really inspired me to learn about not just the process of kind of putting videos online, but creating shows versus just putting up videos here and there, you know?
Yeah.
And I did that for quite a while, where if I was doing one type of video, I would be in one area. Like I would never be in the corner with like my big picture in the background and stuff, that's where I sat for the 1 Minute Synth Reviews. And when I was doing the Modular Minute, I'm sitting at a different area, and it's a different set. And then I'm doing the Synth Quickie, it's at a different set. Like, you know, and he would have a lot of these different places where he'd do like, you know, Angry Video Game Nerd, always one place. If, you know, James and Mike Mondays, always a different place. It was just this, it was easier to create separation in the shows. And what I wanted to do, which is impossible, I wanted to be able to do like 3 videos a week where it could be different things. Because that's kind of what he does, right? I wanted to do like 1 Minute Synth Review on like Tuesdays, and then like Thursdays, maybe a Modular Minute. So I could have the Eurorack and the regular synth community all there. And then maybe like one personal video on like a Sunday or something.
Sure. And that helps with scheduling too, because then you can say like, okay, I know that this week I'm doing this, and I think that's a great way to go about it if you can pull it off. But
No, I mean, but then again, I'm thinking, I still keep in my mind thinking like there's probably some people who are around the area who would be able to come and give content that would be able to be, I guess you could call like contributors or whatnot. Like I have a friend who lives in Long Beach. Her name's like Quinn, right? And I'd be like, hell, Quinn, like maybe you can do like a quick video. And it could be a segment or something like, hey, it could be called like the patch of the week or something. And all you do is like, cool. Just play with your freaking Eurorack and stuff and whatever and make like a badass patch. And then just explain how you did it. Break it down. And then it's called the patch of the week. It could be like 3 minutes. Boom. That's like Wednesday's video.
Yeah.
Right? I shout her out and Quinn gets a cool like, I guess, I don't know. She gets some more maybe exposure for her channel.
Sure.
And then maybe a different day, I go see my friend like Peter Dyer, who does a lot of stuff for Dave Smith, and he can be, he could be like the, like the synth chord progression of the week, because he's such like a fresh like keyboard player, like in terms of like, I'm pretty good, but like he's real fresh with the like contemporary chord structures. Because every time he plays them, I was like, man, like that's a Drake track. Like, wow, like oh, that's a and he's the keyboardist for American Idol right now.
Oh wow!
And so I always think about that. I'll see him at like Dave Smith events and whatnot. So, and I'd like, yeah, it could be this. I could think of a cool name, a cool alliteration on like chords or something, and then I bring in some of the more of the player community through his contribution. And then I just stay myself. But that's so much work. Like I have to coordinate all that.
Right, and it's I always say, because people ask me about the stuff I do on the channel and everything, and it's I feel like it's something everybody could do, but very few people will. And
yes,
it's very hard to find exactly what you're saying. Is like, because it would be great to have your buddies Quinn and Pete on there, but if they're not committed to it,
exactly.
if they don't have the level of I don't know. I want to maybe dedication, or they may just not have time, But I don't know. I feel like that's the hardest thing, because I've thought of the same thing, like having people I know, and then I can't think of anybody in my immediate circle that would be down for doing something consistently. It's hard enough to get my friends to be on my podcast here and do stuff, because I got a couple buddies, and it's like man, if they can't even schedule like a half hour to chat, it's like, man. Good luck once a week trying to do something,
That's kind of the hard part overall. I think is that when you are doing it, it's your passion and you're committed because you see the vision. Yeah. And they can't ever see the vision. And like when I see the vision of that, I'm like, yes, that's the channel I want. Like some people will love all of it. Yeah. Some people will like some of it, but because I'm touching multiple different places. Like right now, I've just been so Eurorack focused that like, I'm not saying that like the main synth community is like tuning out, but it's just like, I haven't done a synthesizer video since the Dave Smith video. And that was in January.
Well, I was going to ask you about this too, because it seems that you took a break, right? From putting up content?
Yeah. Like 2.5 months. Yeah. Almost 3 months.
And that was like, just because of burnout, or... was that around the time you were talking with Jeremy, or?
No, I talked to Jeremy in the June of that year.
Okay.
We talked in June, and I took the break because the channel, what had happened is I had started to feel obligated. I talked about it in the video where I was like, I started to feel like I don't think it's a secret that companies want to send you things, right? And sometimes what happens is it comes in and I try to make sure I make this very clear, it comes in the guise of being like, oh yeah, just have fun. But it's this implying of like, please do something. Yeah. It would be nice if you did this, like wink, right?
Sure.
And so what happens is like, for some people, they like that. They want the stuff and they enjoy it. But like me, I just don't want the stuff necessarily. And so then I do the video to maybe just be done with it. Like, I'll just make the video. And that's what happened late 2017 or whatever. That's how it felt. So when I did the Rev 2 video, it kind of finally burned me out because what happened was I realized, like, that's a very complicated synthesizer. There's so many menus. There's so many things to touch on that. I did a 20-minute video and people were still like, can you do this? And then I realized that what I had done in creating that video was I had done what people had told me to do. And I should just leave videos like that to Loop Pop, right? That's his thing. Like, he does in-depth with the like things on the side that tells you what time code to go to.
Oh, yeah.
That's his thing. Like, that's not my thing. I give you my opinion and I try to do it in a fun way. Yes, I dressed up like Geordie LaForge, which was cool because people had told me that 1,000 times to do that. They're like, dude, like, you remind me of LeVar Burton. And I was just like, it's funny you say that because like I loved reading Rainbow and I loved, the Next Generation. So I can do that. I spent way too much time doing the beam-in effect.
Yeah, that was pretty impressive.
But it was important that I do that. And I think it kind of, I dressed up in stuff before. Like I had dressed up in the Roland video as Darth Vader, which I thought was way more clever, but it, people didn't maybe think it was as clever. I thought it was very clever. So yeah, I mean, I've gone through the kind of evolution of creating, just like James has. He dresses up as things sometimes in his episodes, and I just said that's something I could incorporate. But I had to take the break because the channel was becoming so focused on like stuff and
like the objects or like the synthesizers.
Yeah, and I was happy about that because, in part, the Eurorack for Beginners series came out of that.
Oh, that's a great series.
That was really, really important that I do that extremely well, and I make that really like concise and to the point because there were other series where you can't really put up those other series in sort of like a classroom environment. Not saying that they're bad videos, but they're just they're very off the cuff rambling. And what happened is like I had done the series and a lot of people who were doing synthesizer kind of classroom, more like classroom settings or more like settings where they were sort of doing education, they asked me, they kept reaching out saying like, can I use this in part of the curriculum? Can I do this part of it? And so I was like, yeah, of course. Like,
that's amazing.
Not that's where I wanted it to go per se. What it was I was just not really happy with the way in which Eurorack was being explained online. It was, pick the modules you kind of like. And I watched these videos and I still had no idea like what I really was supposed to do. I walk into the store and I had gone with like, I had never seen someone talk about how much the case was going to cost. And so I made sure I pointed that out like in the video and made suggestions on like, you don't want too small of a case because eventually you may be disappointed and you don't want to buy cases twice.
Yeah.
So buy a larger case right up front. And, it was all these things. I wanted to do it in parts so it could be easily digestible because altogether it would have been like 20 minutes. I didn't think that was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So
it
personal
seems
choice,
like
I guess.
Certain types of content like is definitely comes across better in shorter segments for sure.
Yeah. And also there's no like entertaining music in those videos. It's just literally like giving information. Like, yeah, I found a way to make them a little bit funny here and there, but it was really like I'm presenting like information. So I had to like the ways in which I had to do it. That took a long time. That was very, very like draining on like finish the Eurorack series. And people kept saying like, where's the next part? Like, where's the next part?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, you guys, like at NAMM, there's all these things. Anyway, rambling about this.
So where are you now then? It seems like you have a clearer vision then of what's going to be coming forth.
Yeah, I think I might have a better vision just because I don't necessarily think I know the roads to not go down to create this.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too, is through I don't know, like making some of the things that, like you were saying, it kind of seems like you got to sometimes go down those paths to figure out they're not the ones that you want to go down. Where now you know it's like, okay, well, this doesn't work so much. You're saying like with the video, what's that channel? Low Pop?
Oh, Loop Pop? Yeah, he does. I mean, he does. He definitely gets pre-release synths because he's got like things totally fleshed out by the time the synth is like released. Like you'll see, his channel started definitely I don't know if it way after mine, but like he's fairly new, and his style is fairly, it's intact. We're reviewing a synthesizer, and I'm showing you the functionality of a synthesizer. More of a tech explanation channel than anything. But it's good. It's if I were going to learn something, I would go to that channel because I know he's going to have it. Kind of the way I look at DivKid videos. If you go and you're trying to find a Eurorack module, DivKid has like 1,000 videos. He's got the module like over the last like however many years.
Sure.
And his channel's still small, and I think that's just because he does so many things in Eurorack in the way he does it. But I know that he's gonna have the video, so I just kind of had to. Going back to the question about where the channel is and how I feel about it, it's just I have to just always remember that I went through this before. When I start feeling a certain way, it's like and then just don't do a video that week. Don't be sitting there in the fetal position like I have to do a video.
Yeah.
Like don't do that again. Like just because what it is like you think your channel's not going to grow, and when I hit like 10,000 subscribers.
Yeah, because I remember when you were at
followers.
I think I subscribed maybe around like 1,700.
Oh wow, yeah. That was and it's funny. That wasn't as long ago as it seems. Like
that's what I mean. You're like 10x that now.
Yeah. When I went to, no, I don't think it was then. I'll say this like. My channel hadn't grown like a lot, and then for some reason it just did. Like I don't even know what it was. I hadn't changed anything except even when I was doing videos more regularly all the time, I would gain maybe 1,000 subscribers a month, like, or maybe a little less, right? Mm-hmm. And that was when it was going well. And then within the last year, I did like 15,000 subscribers, like just in the last year. And there's a whole year and a half of me getting to 2,000, right?
Right.
So it's like one of those. And I'll probably get to maybe, not that I'm counting, I'll just say, maybe in the next month and a half or something, I'll hit 20,000, right? So it's like,
nice.
I spent a year and a half to go 2,000, and then another year to go another 18,000. Like it's just like so I don't know, it's kind of like Jeremy, like it's like I looked at his channel and he was at like 100,000 120,000, and then it's like next thing I look up and he's at 200 and 200 and like 20,000. It's like what?
Right, because just what you were saying was like you spoke with him maybe around 100K or something, and because then I just saw that too. Like recently I saw the celebration.
Yeah.
So
because that's the thing, I didn't remember that his channel was small. Like, you don't even remember that. You don't remember, for me, I don't remember when a channel was small. I remember when my channel was like at 2,500. That's probably my first memory. I remember passing 1,000, and I remember being around 2,500. And aside from that, from then to now, it's like I hit 10,000. To make it more in perspective, I hit 10,000 in like early early February, late February, early March.
Okay.
That was 10,000, right? I took a 2.5 month break, and my channel's at like 17,000, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, why does that? I don't know even why that happens, because it's like
Well, because
I've done 4 videos from March to today. And if you count, you can count it as 6, but 2 of those videos are just me not doing anything but sitting and talking about how I felt about certain things. So it's like, I don't know what's been going on.
Well, yeah, it's like there's like that certain point in the channel where you're like pushing the boulder up the hill, and now the boulder, whether you do anything, whether you look away from it, it's cruising down the hill, you know. So it's gaining momentum. It's got its because I see that it's like the compounding, you know, over time. And the content's evergreen, like you said. A lot of your stuff, you're going for evergreen stuff. That's going to be, you know, anytime somebody's looking for the Tempest, hey, I'm going to search that, and hey, whoa, what's this channel? This is amazing. Boom. So then, you know, I don't know. I guess word of mouth too.
Yeah, I think I created enough of a library of stuff that people were able to, I guess they would buy in. I think, you know, I watch a lot of channels about kind of optimizing your YouTube channel, and they always talk about like most people don't subscribe off one video unless that video is like amazing. And I think what it was I didn't have enough videos at the times when people would buy in. They might see a couple that they liked, and it was like, you know, but now it's like the library is so, and it's like no filler, right? Like, yeah, I do some personal videos and I leave them up, and people really like those. Like there will be people who were like, I had been watching your channel for a long time, and then this video where you just talked off the cuff was like, that was the one that made me subscribe. And it's like, well, great.
Yeah, that's because I
20 minutes
follow,
of my time.
Yeah, exactly. That's something I've heard repeatedly from those same people about like that, like tell you to optimize your channel. I watch like Tim Schmoyer, Roberto Blake, these guys.
Yep.
And I remember Roberto was saying like he's in Times Square at one point shooting this like rant, and that's like his most popular video. And it took him, you know, the 10 or 20 minutes, however long the rant is, and for whatever reason, that video resonated with the most amount of people, but he spent years building up all these different types of like Game of Thrones reviews, and then, you know, like Photoshop techniques, and then how to use YouTube and optimize YouTube. So it's like, I feel like you just never know sometimes like what's going to strike that chord with people.
No, I definitely don't. I'm not good at understanding how.
I don't think I think it's just like that's the roll of the dice part, you know.
It's like the viral video without being fully viral. You don't know why or how it's going to pop off, but then like it does. Like even I'll say for myself, the great Synth Mysteries video I did. Right?
Oh, I love that one. Yeah,
I'd been thinking about that video for a long time. Like I had said. And that's why I kind of took the break. I took the break to sit around and think about new programming per se, right, for the channel. It was like, all right, I know what series work. You know, 1 minute synth review. I could do a 1 minute synth review. Every person knows from the thumbnails, etc., what that's about. Second, the synth versus synth, like which are the most popular, which makes perfect sense. You get 2 synths for the price of 1. Yeah. Right, so I'm getting to put 2 in the tag, 2 in the title. You get twice as many views. Boom.
And people are constantly looking thumbnail. Like, you know, people want to know like, well, Tempest or Digitac, like which one should I get? So it's like,
my channel would be enormous if I just did synth versus synth videos every week.
Yeah,
like because you know it's got the great thumbnail, it's got the Morpheus thumbnail.
Oh yeah, blue pill, red pill,
yeah, which everyone knows. And so it's this thing. And so I said, okay, but I have to think of another series that's going to be kind of that thing. And I said channels that I really liked were Gamer from Mars. I liked Wang, who does like internet mysteries. I liked I liked a lot of videos that were kind of interesting in that way where they talk about his like Emp Lemon. I just liked videos like that. And so I had to really sit around and think, how am I going to do this for a synthesizer? Synths don't necessarily have stories, but I've got to tell a story.
Yeah.
And the video, like, it was funny because I personally thought it was going to be small and for my core like audience, like, oh, this is what a cool thing you did. That's what I thought it was gonna be. And then like it got picked up like on Reddit.
Whoa.
And you know, the best part I think about that video, minus that I spelled shit wrong, it's whatever, I don't care, is that the like to dislike ratio is like so like overwhelmingly like positive. Like for something that touches Reddit, I feel like this. Reddit either gonna be good or it's gonna be real bad.
Yeah.
So I think it did like almost like 2,000 likes and only like 30 dislikes.
Whoa.
Which is like pretty like
that's
nuts.
a great ratio. Yeah.
Yeah. My channel's not very like heavy like hater like dislike. You know,
yeah.
I know other channels where they definitely, you know, there's other channels that that definitely like they get the hate wave.
Yeah.
Like people will still say sub to the channel just to like hate the video.
Yeah.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah, it's like a video comes out and then it's got like already like so many thumbs down. It's like, how did that happen? Right? Like there's people that just subscribe to it, so as soon as it comes out, they can just be like, thumb down.
Yeah, like what's that video series? The like Against the Clock series on Future or something. I forgot who makes it. Maybe Future Music does this Against the Clock thing. They started disabling comments. And they always have more of a dislike to like ratio. This is just, and you always say like, people can't be this.
Yeah.
Because first off, it's a series that you wouldn't know what it was if you weren't in the loop. Against the Clock doesn't say anything. Most of the producers on Against the Clock aren't big time producers. So you're kind of just like, me at least, I'm always like dumbfounded. Like, you mean there's hundreds of people still subscribed to this channel who specifically are disliking these videos? Like, wouldn't you stop? Like,
right.
But they want to be part of the hate wave. So they want to feel like they want to see the number rise. They want to see the thumbs down like rising. And then, you know, you got Future Music or whoever that is. Please, maybe I'm saying the wrong name, whatever. They disable comments, meaning that they know that it's not going well. But it's like, why don't they just fix it? They don't.
Right.
So I have the opportunity to fix my channel. Like that kind of a thing. It's like they have probably like a team who's just doing these things and cutting them, and they're too large. They got to have the views. It's like my channel, I don't have to have the views. Sure. I can do anything. And so if something's broken, fix it.
Yeah, and that's the best part about YouTube and all the analytics and things. You can really see like what's resonating with people, where people are dropping out of the videos, you know, what videos people like, which ones they're subscribing to. Like it's crazy, like the amount of data, and it's something I really should pay more attention to myself. And you know, that's the thing with all the dislikes and stuff. It really just, YouTube doesn't care too. It counts as an impression, whether somebody likes it, hates it, puts a comment on it, whether that comment is good, bad, or ugly. It all counts the same. So the joke is kind of on the haters, you know, because it's counting the same. So
yeah, I'm not saying I like it when you dislike it. I don't like when you write a comment like hating me, like.
Yeah.
But you know what? I've gotten better about that. The reason why I sort of burnt out because my channel started to go larger, and since you listen to Roberto Blake and things like that, he talks about how when your channel is small, that's the best time because you haven't yet had the hating community infect your channel. They haven't got there yet.
Yep.
So what happened to me is I hadn't really heard that.
And you can police it too, because you know the community of people, and if you're commenting with them, and you have time, you can check every comment and
yeah. There was that issue where I started to get some haters, and it really like hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
And so it was this whole thing of like, wait, I'm spending all this time doing these videos, and I was looking at it wrong. I was getting 100 likes, and then boom, one dislike, and I was like, oh, the dislike, it's not worth it, you know. And I was looking at it all wrong.
Yeah.
And you
Well,
know,
the other thing
Jeremy
is,
told me a lot of things about that, so it was good.
yeah, and I always say too, it's like, haters mean you made it. Like at that point, if somebody is taking time out of their day to dislike something or to write a nasty comment or write a comment dogging what you're doing, it's like you made such an impression on that person that they felt it necessary to do that. I don't know. Like I feel like that's a win.
I mean, I'd like to think that is the case, because I don't write a lot of bad comments. I write bad comments when a video is 100% misleading, or this person doesn't know at all how to make it's okay. So the one other thing that I do aside from making a lot of YouTube and, playing keys and whatnot is like, I run a small videography company, right? Where I do a lot of video for brands and stuff.
Awesome, because I wanted to ask you about this. Okay.
Yeah, so what happens is I watch camera reviews or I watch lens reviews or things like that, right? So if I watch a lens review and you don't show one picture taken with that lens, I'm sorry. Yeah. I have to put a comment and I'm going to drop a dislike on you. Not because of anything else. You don't have to do that for everything. But if you're going to do something where it involves something like that, you gotta, come on.
And that says nothing about your dislike for the reviewer. It's just the content. That's why you're saying like you're taking these thumbs down personally, but maybe they didn't. Maybe they thought you spelt a word wrong, like you're saying, like in the mystery video. Or you never know what people's critical mind is, because like I always have that person in my mind, like my worst critic, and I've yet to see anything but positivity from putting stuff out and people saying keep going, like you got something here, like keep like. I don't know. That's why I too, like, I don't know. I'm just a sensitive person, and like that shit gets me too, because it's like you spend all this time putting your heart and soul into stuff, and then somebody can just come along and
you're counting like the 99.99% of positivity means nothing.
Exactly.
If one person, and it sucks because you have to go through all those points of being like, well, wait, so like my mom always told me that you can't care what other people think, but then most of the time in the real world, it's, imagine walking around with a shirt that just had a like to dislike ratio based on like people actually, what I'm saying? Like, could you imagine like how it would feel? And I think that that's what happens. It's, my face is out there, you're seeing me, and then right below me is like the amount of people that like me and dislike me. Nowadays, I take it with stride, and it's just really easy. But in the beginning, when I started to get a little bit more popular, that's when it became like I didn't know how to handle it. So, but it's real easy. It's real easy. I think I'm pretty funny about handling the haters. Or what I do a lot of times is I try to be constructive, and it kind of throws them off a lot of times. If I really say, hey, I hear what you're saying.
How can I improve?
Can you maybe tell me like exactly why you feel that I should have done this? And if you could, like, can you send me like an email, like 5 things that I could be like, never get an email.
It's so disarming, because that's like what they're hoping you to do is, I don't know, maybe address it. Like go down the negative spiral with them,
Yeah.
And when you do that,
and
it's
I
like,
don't.
oh,
Yeah, they like the trolling attention. I get it, right? But I really like the conversation, because my channel's only gotten better through people telling me why they personally don't like it. I feel like and what's funny, when you look at the analytics, they really back up what like a person is telling you. Like people would tell me, my friend, he said, dude, your intro, this is in the beginning, your intro is way too long.
Okay.
And I was like, what are you talking about? Intro is too long. Like that intro is badass, right? But when you go to the analytics of like those videos, it's like a giant cut in like the first, and then like so I learned from that, and it's backed up by statistics, and so it's real easy to. You don't just take it as like this person is personally hating. Yeah. They have a valid argument sometimes. So
yeah, I was reading this thing it was like an interview with Tim Cook, the Apple guy and CEO. And he was saying like criticism matters, but you also have to look at where that's coming from. Because if like
Yes.
if it's like somebody you know and respect, like for instance, like Jeremy, if he's from Red Means Recording, if he was
Yeah.
like this, it told you something, you'd probably be like, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But then if it's just some random
Exactly.
person that you've never met, it's like, I don't know, like you kind of have to take the criticism take it where it's coming from too.
Yeah.
It's like some
That's how I
random
feel.
person on the internet. It's like, I don't know.
You don't know if they had a bad day.
Yes.
You don't know if they were looking for something very specific that they wanted you to talk about, and you didn't. And it's not your fault. But when you get a like or when you get a dislike and you don't get a comment explaining that, kind of expounding on the idea behind the dislike, it just becomes this, why, what did I do? And it's probably nothing. But yeah, people may or may not like you, but that's okay. I'm getting better at that.
So I wanted to ask you about the videography or the filmography, because clearly you have a great idea of equipment and shooting and lighting and audio and everything. So like, what's your background with? That was something I wanted to ask you. Was like, what's your background with filming and editing and script writing, etc.?
So when I made a music video for myself, like back in 2009, something that's actually on the channel but not on the channel,
private,
and I'm thinking I'll bring it up. It was a music project I did way back in 2009 called Neon D and the Digital Dancer, and it was influenced by Felix the House Cat, and I really wanted his cool vocal styles to be the vocoder was big, and I made this whole project. I did a lot of shows out here in LA as Neon D and the Digital Dancer, and so I shot this video.
Is that still an active project? I take it that it's not.
Oh God, no.
Okay.
It's not. It is in a way. Like I might think about it, but like the only reason I would think about it was because like Felix the House Cat's not as prevalent right now in terms of recording. He does a lot of touring as a DJ. He's getting older, and Felix the House Cat must be in his 50s now. He's an old school guy, and so I might bring it back if I can figure out a way to be inspired to do it. But anyway, I shot a music video for that in 2009. And,
wow, it's almost 10 years now. The 10 year.
Yeah. God, I was like 29 something at that point. I was.
Oh wow.
No, I was like no. I'm sorry. I was like, how old was I during that? Maybe like I was like 20 or 20 something. I was pretty young when I shot that, and I shot on a Kodak ZI-8, which is like this small like camera back then, but it was like 1080p and you could do 60 frames.
Wow, that seems pretty advanced for that year, or like that time zone or time period.
And it's funny because it's like I did this one video and I never really shot anything that was mine again. I shot like some videos for other people, but my whole background really came from being an editor.
Oh, cool.
And so I edited. I work for this company in Los Angeles, just editing video for like 2 years. But before that, I did a lot of audio editing. And so when I started the channel, the only thing I didn't really know how to do was make things better. I can do what I did then, and it was fun, and it was interesting. And I always knew how to do good shot selection. But I think, I really got into cameras and lenses. And when I started, and so the whole kind of me having a videography company was literally like people started to get a hold of like my channel, and a lot of smaller brands wanted me to just recreate what I did in a lot of my synthesizer reviews for, say, like their salon or say like their other company or whatever.
That's awesome.
And so like it was this whole thing where I was like, well, it would be nice to work for myself, if I have these connections and I can create a service for these people. And so I invested a lot of money in equipment and lighting and grip stuff, and I just started to do it. It wasn't always great, but now I've done like a lot of videos I'm like, I think I'm getting like a post on like the Black Magic Design like website or something. I don't know. Something maybe on their Instagram, something. They wanted to know about this product I did for a guitar pedal company, and I shot a bunch of like their spots or whatever.
What is that something you can share? Like what pedal that was, or?
Yeah, it was for a company called New Neighbor. They three of their pedals. One is not finished, but like the Inspire and Immerse pedals. It's kind of funny because on like one of their videos, which New Neighbor didn't necessarily say, but like someone commented like on their video, they're like, is this Noir Blanc Vie who like did this? And like New Neighbor didn't say yes. They didn't say anything.
Yeah.
But it was funny because I was like,
somebody recognized it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I understand, like, it's a company. Like most companies kind of want to keep things unbranded, right? They just don't,
I mean, that's I feel like that's awesome because it shows that you have a very strong identity as a filmmaker, or your style. Because that's what I meant with like your channel just seems fully formed from the get go. It's like you clearly have like a background and like this clear vision of where you're going with this.
I mean, I wanted to figure out how to do that. I wanted to look at other examples of people who were doing it well, whatever it was. And then I wanted to understand like their process of doing it well. And so that was kind of I never really liked a lot of the channels where I didn't get a clear understanding of what they were trying to tell me about whatever it was. And so what I wanted to do was make sure I did that all the time. And like people have said, it is good that I do these off the cuff ones every now and then. Like, I think the viewer sometimes gets this like, oh, it's him over there. Like, that's what I feel like they say. Like, he's over there in his space. But it's like, no, I'm just a guy, and that's what I like to do. I like to write these scripted videos because I like movies. I'm like the ultimate movie guy. I like, I'm the guy who likes when Goodfellas. Yeah, where you've got like Joe Pesci doing his like lines. You think I'm a clown? You think I'm funny? And it's like, it's not off the cuff. That was scripted to give us a certain effect.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. Like, I'm not really like a reality TV guy. I like movies. Like, I like lines. I like that impactful thing. That's what I like.
Scripted, yeah.
Yeah, it's just this like thing that's making you like listen. So yeah, the videography thing has been really good. So
cool.
I can't complain. Plus, I had a love for like lenses, and I obsess over that, and I try not to.
That seems like a rabbit hole, like in terms of gear acquisition,
Yeah, if like lenses are like synths. They can go up as high as you want, right? They're about the same price. Like, you can get a cheap one for like 200 or 150, a super cheap one. Yeah. You got your mid-range, and then you've got like your Canon L glass.
Yep.
Like the 24 to 70 2.8 or something like.
Are those the ones with like the red stripe on them?
Yeah. You can go that high, and it's like, and you know what? You don't need to, but it's like you can go down that hole of being obsessed with like camera gear the same way. I've kind of escaped from both of the whole music gear / camera gear gas. It's like not really a thing.
Because I think if you want to create, you have to like get to a point where you can get past that stuff. Because then I used to find like with people, they would be more of a collector than a creator, because then you're like, oh, well, I'm just going to get this. But what are you doing with it? Like, are you actually going to use it, or are you just going to, what are you making with it?
Yeah. Which is a point that people, I think, bring up sometimes with people online. I know that Bo talked about this once before where people were like, where's your music? Like, do you just buy gear all the time? You don't, where's your music? Right. And, the weird thing is for me, people don't get upset about, I think I play enough. And that was a big thing when I brought the channel back after the break, for those months. I said, I have to perform in the videos the way that I would use these pieces of equipment. I learned that from Andrew Huang, where he talked to me about that he doesn't review gear. He just explains it the way in which he would be using it. And I just took that really like as a, some
that's
advice.
Really cool.
And I said, that's how I would do it. But I said, but I got to do this. I got to do this in my style. I got to do it the way I would do it, which was like, I bought a bunch of like blackout equipment so I could like do, almost this void of just me and the instrument.
Yeah.
That's
just like the spotlighted ones, right?
Yeah, it's just really creating this just focus on what's happening here, and that was really that was how I envisioned those going, right? And I think it works because you are hearing my music through those. You're hearing exactly what I would do, and I'm playing, so you almost get two for the price of one, where I am playing, so you're getting some of that midweek melody vibe, but you're also getting the review, which is, probably what you came for in the first place, is you want to know about the piece of gear, maybe.
But so now because you're like a touring musician at one point, or you are now too?
I was a touring musician from after I left college. I did a little bit of studio work as a studio musician, and then I did a bunch of touring until 2000 and my last little tour was 2012, when I did the last few runs of a band that we're in, where unfortunately it never worked out with that album. We released one album, and then we tried to finish the second album, and we did, but it just never came out. We just, and it's really good. We just couldn't do it. Anyway, so yeah, I was doing a lot of playing shows.
What's that band called?
It's called Godsons.
Cool.
And, I was producing a lot more then as well. I produced records from when I was 18. That was the first record I did, was with a band called Orangeburg Massacre, who was signed to Pluto Records. And I was 18. I remember they got their deal in 2005. And that was a big thing, because I got a call. I was in college. I remember being at the dorms in Berkeley, and Alex from the band was like, "Hey, we got a deal, blah, blah, blah." And I had produced the record. And so they got the deal. It was pretty crazy, because I was super young. And I was yeah, they got a record deal. And I produced the record, and I had produced a few other records at the time. And then, I moved out to LA, and I just started producing for a few groups out here. Little Red Radio was the first one. And, I went back and recreated all their songs that they had done. And then we put out a record. So, yeah, I mean, it's been a lot of producing.
So I take it you studied engineering then, and music engineering?
I studied jazz piano. That's
Oh, wow.
all I studied. So, of course I took some classes on engineering, but the music production and engineering, the MP&E, which they called it in Berkeley, was I don't know. It wasn't what I wanted to do per se, because I had already done it. I think a lot of people didn't show up at Berkeley having produced 3 records. And I had done that before I was before I had even come to the college. I just went on my local Craigslist and said, "Hey, is there bands? I'll produce your records," right? And my only thing was the record's got to come out. That's my thing. I want to have a
calling
tangible
card.
Yeah, I want to be able to show my work. So yeah, it was a big thing for me to put out records. So that was I didn't take the MP&E class, because I was I already had a studio at that point. I rented a space in where I lived, paid $300, $400 a month for a studio space.
Nice.
And I had been producing records for 2 years at that point. So I just wanted to learn piano and be better. So that's what I That was my thing. My mom's a classical pianist, so I kind of was wanting to kind of be better at something different, I guess.
That's usually the way it goes, I feel like, with parents.
Yeah, it's funny. My mom never taught me, but yeah, I think I was a much better player than I am now because I don't get to play all the time, even though I schedule like piano practices, like it's in my calendar, like 3 or 4 times a week I have like scheduled piano practices, but it's different. It's different. Like, and that's why I talk about like, oh, I want to bring Peter Dyer on, like, because he's like, take me back like 5 years ago where I'm playing like all the time. It's a whole different thing, right? Like he's playing for American Idol now. He's done so much work. He's just like, and that's why I think it'd be cool. I love people who play. Not that they're better or anything. It's just, as a player myself, it's always inspiring to be like, I sit there just like, like, wow, like, damn, like, I want to be like embarrassed by like the guy, So like, Peter and I were at this Dave Smith Instruments event for the Prophet X, and it's crazy because like Dave Smith is sitting like right behind us, right? And me and Peter are like at the Prophet X just like messing around, and like Dave's like, oh, play something, and I'm like, no, don't, no. I'm like, and so I played a little something, hit some chords, thing, and then Peter Dyer, who knows the synth and it's everything, he just touches on it, and I'm like, man, come on, like, like he's playing hours and hours and hours every day.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I came from that kind of a background, and I don't get to as much. I want to. People ask, but I want to. Maybe I will. I mean, I'm going to produce more than I'm going to play out. That's just my personality, especially now. But that's just because I can't be held to practicing songs for people. Like it's too much.
What about like doing some sort of live stream on your channel regularly where you're playing or performing?
Someone gave me that great like idea. They were like, maybe you could just play and like talk about like some things you're thinking about, and I said, oh, that's not a bad idea. I might float it. Just kind of sit with the SV1 and I think of something interesting to talk about. Not like political or anything, but like what's out. Like, oh, there's a new synth out. I'm like, it would give like a good thing of me, it being personal and also the music. But we'll see. I have a few more like obligations that I have to do for like some sponsored videos or whatnot, and so those don't involve me doing anything fun. So
now,
that being said,
they like reach out to you, or are you contacting companies? Like, I'm not really sure how that whole thing works.
So it kind of goes many different ways. I contacted. Well, this sponsored thing is for Reverb, right?
Oh, cool.
They're doing like a little partnership on a video for. I mean, I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about it, but anyway, there's a video coming out in like a couple weeks.
Sure.
That they have sponsored because it makes sense for what they do as a company, being able to sell lots of different types of equipment and stuff. So I'm doing something with them, and that video is a different kind of a thing. And then I've tried twice, and it's never worked out, where I wanted to do sort of in the way of James Rolfe, the video game nerd. He did the 12 Days of Shitsmas.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? It was real easy. The 12 Days of Synthmas.
Oh,
and I just
nice.
need like 12 interesting synths. I can totally send them back. Like, I don't want to keep them. I just need companies to do it. So 2 years in a row, last year in 2016, and in 20 whatever, I reached out to a bunch of companies. And I said, like, maybe not even 12. I reached out to like 6. And I said, hey, I'm trying to do this thing, and it's called 12, and check out my channel, and maybe you guys would be interested. And, yeah, didn't go well. Nobody really contacted me back about that, or they contacted me back like way after.
Yeah.
And even like Dave Smith Instruments, like, and I have like a relationship with them. I was like, hey, like whatever you want to do, like send me one of the things, like I could put it in there. And that didn't work out at the time. So it does work out both ways. Like the only thing that I ever asked for was the make noise pressure points, because someone on Twitter asked. They said, hey, what do you think about the pressure points module? Like, it would be cool if you reviewed that. And I said at the time, like, I didn't like doing videos like that because it opens up this whole wave of people asking for you to do something.
Right.
So I said, all right, I'll do it. He had been a long time person I'd seen around, and I said, I'll ask Make Noise. But I asked Make Noise in like October or some year, and I didn't get it till like January or like February. It was like,
yeah, at that point.
So I still got it. But it wasn't like I was like myself personally like, yeah, I really wanted pressure points. Like, that's not what I really wanted. But they were super nice, and they sent over the brains, which totally makes the module more useful to me in a clocking scenario. So, but yeah, I usually, first and foremost, like there's just not a lot of stuff that I want. Like, I can't think of a lot of things, or it kind of just becomes like a filler. Like, it just becomes like you can think of like a lot of synths that it's just like, it's like the Volca sample. Like, why would I?
Yeah. Well, that's the first thing that hit me was like, because there's, I don't know, how many of those are, there's 6 of the Volca series.
Yeah.
Because that could be half of your synth miss right there if you wanted to do those,
It would be great.
I feel like, I don't know Korg at all, but I feel like, the people there, but that seems like something, like, why wouldn't they be down? That's such a sick idea,
I think it really is. I don't know a lot of companies and how they kind of work with people. So, if say we talk about, God, it's kind of hard if I just say companies, but let's say, like Pittsburgh Modular, right? I've done a lot of videos surrounding Pittsburgh Modular stuff. Mm-hmm. And that's for like a lot of different reasons, right? I think that I remember at some point talking to one of the guys at Pittsburgh Modular and being like, I can't do any more Pittsburgh Modular videos. People are going to start thinking that I have this like crazy like hookup from like Pittsburgh Modular, and they're just like flooding the channel with like stuff, right? So I said, like, I got to like chill on the Pittsburgh Modular stuff.
Right.
Little did like people know that like it was Pittsburgh Modular like let me have 4 or 5 modules around the time that I was trying to get the 12 Days of Synthmas started. Like,
cool.
And it was sort of this like weird backup plan where I was just like, well, I can't do this, so I got to do something that's impactful. So I did the Eurorack series, and that was because Pittsburgh Modular had let me borrow a bunch of modules around that time. And I give them like a shout out at the end of every video. Like, I say, like, thanks so much, Pittsburgh Modular, for helping make this series possible. And it's not that they gave me the modules as pay or they just like let me keep them. It was just they let me borrow like a bunch of modules, and so I was able to like have a larger like selection because I only had the modules I had, which weren't a lot. And then at the same time, it's like the SV1 is a module that I kept really enjoying, because the Mother 32, which I'll make a video of eventually, I sold both of my Mother 32s, like, and I still have the SV1. So it's like I've always had a really fond like enjoyment with the Pittsburgh Modular modules. So it's and I know how they work.
Yeah.
Like, I know the layouts. I know, especially the Lifeforms versions. I know the layouts and whatnot. So, yeah, it's usually not me reaching out. But I do have some modules that like are here that, were provided by companies that I just, I always tell a company, like, this is how it works. I always tell a company, I'm not going to ask for something Send me whatever you think. Just send whatever, right? Because what I don't want to do is create this, ooh, look what I got. You know, sometimes they send me something and I'm just like, okay, like I don't really want this fucking thing. Like,
Yeah.
but
and then you got to do something with it.
Yeah, like I always say if I like it, then I'll talk about it, right? But if I don't, you're not getting a video. Like there's no video for review. It's always like, if I like it and it inspires me to do it, then it's going to get video, because I can't write these scripts. I can't sit here and edit it and hate it. Like that's going to make me just so annoyed.
Yeah.
And then I don't think they would want that anyway.
It's just not good for anybody. Yeah. It's like,
and most of the modules, like I mean, all these modules, like, I buy, like, that's the thing. I think that's maybe, and this goes back to like the misinformation about a lot of things. It's like companies have lots of modules or equipment, but what companies want to do is they want to sell the new thing. They want to sell the product that just came out, right? And 99% of the time, I don't want the project that just came out. I might want, like, you know what? I would really, really like the JDXA from Roland, but that came out like 4 years ago, right?
Those are little ones that fit on like a...
No,
like
that's the big one.
Oh,
that's
okay.
like the JDXI, which is the small one?
Yeah.
It's the like big brother to the JDXI.
Oh, wow.
It's like a full 61 key or something, like synthesizer.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not even like the guy to necessarily know everything about that, but what intrigues me is that I don't think a lot of people remember that, like, no, Roland released like a full analog like polysynth a few years ago that's like, you know, really like, you know, a big thing. That's what intrigues me, being like, why did this synth from Roland? Because, you know, people made a big deal about the Prologue, people make big deals about Dave Smith, people made pretty big deal about the Deep Mind, but it intrigues me because I don't know why people have like not made it a bigger thing. Like, so there's something about that. There's like a story there that I can maybe
the
unwrap.
next Great Synth Mysteries episode.
I'm thinking, well, you know, the next Great Synth Mysteries, I don't know when that's going to happen, because I talked about it on the DivKid kind of like intro to modular little podcasty thing we did. I said the next one is going to be about Jexus, and a lot of people don't know who Jexus is. His website's like WC Olo Garb, and he's from Poland or the Netherlands, I forgot. But and that's why this story is going to be so interesting, is that I remember his website is probably the most comprehensive synthesizer review website on the internet. Like, whoa. There's synth, Vintage Synth Explorer, yeah, and then there's like Jexus, right? And his website is like crazy, like amazing. And I've been going back and forth with him for like months now, getting some interview questions for him, and then he writes me back like, you know, a week later, and he's very like mysterious person, right? And he had, you know, thousands and thousands of subscribers to his YouTube channel, and he just stopped making videos 3 years ago. He just stopped. And so the story is really going to be about, you know, who is like the greatest synth YouTuber of all time that no one knows about. Right. And the way that it makes it so interesting is like, if you look at Jexus and you pay attention to like a lot of the aesthetics, he was just such a like interesting person. And the story kind of it tells itself. If you can
that's
just
like classic story. Yeah.
If you can like tell someone, there was a guy who reviewed hundreds of like synthesizers, not just, we're talking like, he had the Alesis Andromeda. He has, you know, he was so into all of these. And there's pictures on his website. If you look it up and go to like Jexus, like WC Olo Garbo, if you look at like his main picture, it's just like a dungeon full of like synthesizers. Not synthesizers on nice little like racks and stuff. It's like just, you know. And so I know that it's going to be really good. It just involves us going back and forth. And he is a private person, and he agreed to it, and we're working on it slowly, but it involves a lot of time anyway. So I can't wait for that to happen, because that's way more interesting to me than the Access Virus, which the Access Virus was very cool and very fun to learn about.
I knew nothing about any of that stuff, so for me it was like super informational, and the fact that now they've pivoted into the guitar stuff, and that seems like it's going to be a game-changing device as well. So it's like, man, this is crazy.
Yeah, Christoph Kemper being that person is so much more interesting than I think I even knew at the time, because for me, and then this is why it goes back to, I have to be interested in what it is that I'm going to talk about to go and make it what it is because like
you gotta have that passion, otherwise it's what's the point?
I started the script for the Access Virus such a long time ago, and was like, I remember like starting it and being like, what is the synthesizer? Like, I looked and I said, oh, the Access Virus hasn't been updated in almost a decade. Okay, that's on its own, that happens, right? But it was literally like the premier synth when it went away. There wasn't another synth that was touching it. So it was like, okay.
It's like super weird. Iconic, right? Like that's the sound of like an era of electronic music.
It was literally like the sound, like the whole, I didn't bring it up in the video, and it was hard to touch on a lot of things. I probably could have made the video a little longer, but I didn't want to draw it out. The Lady Gaga album, forgot what it was. I think it was called like her biggest album, where she had like Poker Face and
like
things
every
like
song,
that.
And all the
every
videos,
song.
Right?
Yeah, that whole album for the most part was like done on the Access Virus. That is the sound of 2000 and like, I guess that was like 2007 or something, right? Like that was the sound, the it was like 2005, 2006. The whole album, he talks about it in a Sound on Sound article about how he was just Access Virus and like the vocals, and you can hear it. You know the sound of the Access Virus. And so that was just interesting because it's like, I don't even know about Christoph Kemper. I haven't heard of this person. And to find out that like he is such an interesting person going from, and I hope he saw it.
Yeah.
I kind of hope he saw the video, maybe.
Email
maybe he hates it. Who knows? I don't know. It's just interesting. It's interesting, right? Because he's a guy who made literally like a synth of an era, like the DX7 of the 2000s.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly. I was thinking something like the FM stuff. Like the stuff that's just like so iconic for 80s or whatever. It's like kind of the same idea, but now in the mid 2000s.
Yeah. And there's a lot of reasons why it can't come out again. People have let me know, but it's kind of like, well, but as a company, right? Like people say, oh no, it's fine. Like you could just keep the synth. But I'm like, you don't like, it's a company. It would be like Toyota saying, oh, the Civic's fine. Like when, we released a Civic in like 2004, like we don't need to release another Civic.
Yeah.
It's good.
It
was, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It was good the way it was. And it's like, but we're people. Like that's a company. Like a company can't just stop doing something for 10 years. Like what happened?
Right.
And so that's how I found out about the Profiler. And I was like, oh, like
that. I want to check that out. That does seem super, I don't know, like to have that, because I play like mainly guitar, I guess. And that's what I've been doing a lot of is like direct in and things like that. And that seems to be where the technology is going, because you used to have all these amps, all these different sounds, all these guitars. And a lot of that technology too is like hit or miss, and it's come a long way over the years. And that when I saw that at the end of the video, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, so this is what he's been up to.
Yeah, the whole modeling thing, and you can see like he took a lot of the kind of design. His design is clean, the Kemper Profiler is clean. It's not say futuristic, but his design aesthetic, what he wants to see is a very clean interface. And so you're seeing a lot of the same things that he perfected once he got to the TI2 version of the Access virus, because the older virus was a little bit different. It was, and that was 95. So it was a lot of different things, right? But it's interesting just to see a person who, and then the interview piece was just probably the most important to me thing to place into that, where, right at the beginning he says, I dreamt of being a professional musician, but, if I couldn't, I wanted to be involved in the tech somehow. And it shows like, this is a person who had a true dream for music. He wanted that, but he found his way into something else and created maybe something to make every musician who could touch it feel his same like passion for the music that he's not able to do every day of his life like some people, right?
Right.
So yeah, that story was just so interesting to talk about, and I felt like that hadn't really been brought up well in the synth community. Is like, you can make synths have stories. The DX7 has a story, just like the CS80 has a story. And I think it's a lot easier in video games. Have you ever watched Clean Prince Gaming? I don't know. He does a lot of video essays. And he does these video essays called, he does like Metal Gear Solid didn't just die, it was murdered, right?
Yeah.
He does those.
I'm going to probably watch that right after this. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's this really cool video essay series. And that's what really like made me think about it, was like, wow, you can bring a story to anything. Because he's not really talking about in these videos the video gameplay or the storyline within the video game. He's talking about all of the situations surrounding the release and maybe reception of something. And that's kind of the series, is like, yeah, people love the Access virus and they're on your Facebook page every day saying, what's going on? Like, where's the virus? Like, can I get an update? And there's just no one responds.
Radio silence. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was so true. Some people on the comment section were like, stupid virus, it never update, it glitches, it's too much. And then there's people like, no, the virus was perfect.
It's perfect. Yeah. That's why I walked away, right?
Yeah. So it's cool. I really enjoy that series. Obviously, I keep talking about it, so you see how like passionate I was about like, reading and learning about it when I was writing. It was just it was a lot of fun.
And I feel like that's the place with YouTube. It's like the intersection of what you're passionate about, what's going to pique people's interests, and it's like finding that line, like where is that and how do I just walk that? Because sometimes you go too far into I feel like I just have to do this to do it, or sometimes you go too far like into your own aesthetic or something, and then it's like, well, where is that like lane that you should be or want to be on, So that was the first part of our conversation, and you can tune in next week for the second part and the conclusion of the Noir at Blanc Vie 2-part series here on the 424 Recording Podcast. Man, it was so much fun. I feel like I learned so much about YouTube from this conversation, and I hope that if you're pursuing YouTube or making a channel or any other type of creative endeavor, you can find some gems in here. If you want to check out Steven's channel, it's youtube.com/Noir at Blanc Vie, and he's also on Instagram and Twitter, Noir at Blanc Vie as well. This is Mike from 424recording.com. Godspeed, my friends. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe and review the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you want to support the podcast, you can check out patreon.com/424recording. Appreciate you, my friends. And make sure you do something you want to do today, okay?